I talked to little girls as young as 9 that were raped multiple times by members of the cartel. Not once, numerous times. Grown men crawled upon this little girl, took everything innocent and pure from her. Her life would never be the same. Look in her eyes, there wasn't life in her eyes. It's just, this little girl's devastated for life. And this happens every day. When they unsecure the border on purpose, I wrote an op-ed at Fox News, and I says, if Joe Biden wins the presidency, we lose the border. When you lose the border, trafficking of sex trafficking will skyrocket, child deaths will skyrocket, migrant deaths will skyrocket, American deaths will skyrocket from drugs coming across that border. I wake up every day pissed off for 4 years. So I've been on numerous networks complaining about it. So when President Trump calls me out, says, you've been complaining about it for 4 years. You want to come fix it? How do you say no?
Welcome back, everybody. So these are the clips from the recent Tucker Carlson, Tom Homan interview. I've clipped the best parts and cut the fat out. I've also added some additional diagrams and graphics when necessary. I hope you enjoy.
He gave me 3 rails, so three things he wants me to do. Number 1 is secure the border.
Yeah.
Shut the border down. Number 2, run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. And third, he wants me to lead an effort to find the over 300,000 missing children that were trafficked into this country.
Seal the border, deport the illegals, find the missing children, right. 300,000.
Yes.
Let's go in order. Seal the border. What has happened? Do you have a sense now, over a month after Trump's victory, of just how big the invasion was under Biden? Do we know?
Well, we know that we can document over 10 million encounters, 10.5 that we can document. Then we can document over 2 million gotaways, right? These are known gotaways. What is a known gotaway? These are people we capture an image on drone video.
Is that in addition to the 10?
Yeah. So
at least 12 million people
have been encountered at our border. 10.5 been encountered. Over 2 we know they're a gotaway because we capture on drone traffic, video traffic, or sensor traffic. In Border Patrol's over 1 that couldn't respond. So we know there's at least 12.5 million people at that border. It's a historic number, which is one of the reasons why I wake up pissed off every day. To go from the most secure border of my lifetime under President Trump, based on data, right? That's just my opinion, that's data. Go from the most secure border of my lifetime to historic illegal immigration in one administration. That's by design. That's not mismanagement. I worked for 6 presidents. Obama and Clinton took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have. There's no way you can have strong national security if you don't have border security. You need to know what's coming, who's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. Joe Biden's first president came in office and unsecured the border, and people ask me all the time why. I think they see a future political benefit. I think they think these people will be future Democratic voters. Number 1, 2, but we don't even have to get there, right, Tucker? I mean, when Biden signed over 90 executive orders, getting rid of everything we did. He also overturned the Trump census rule, where millions of illegal aliens be counted in all these sanctuary cities, which is going to result in more seats in the House for the Dems and the reproportionate seats in the House.
How many came through Canada? Do you know?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I know the number, depending on what sector you look at, is 600 to 800% increase on the northern border.
Of the 12 million that you described who came here illegally under Biden, where were they from, roughly?
181 different countries.
Roughly, what was the breakdown? Can you remember?
Mexicans still lead, or national Mexico still lead.
Oh, really?
Yeah. El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, close second. I mean, those 4 countries make up a majority. But what concerns me is the countries that we never had much activity from.
Yes.
46,000 Chinese.
What's that?
It scares the hell out of me because a lot of them are military-age males. 46,000 military-age males don't leave China without the coordination to approval of the Chinese government. That just don't happen. Russians, we got over, I think last look I have is 27,000 Russians. People from Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq, numbers like we've never seen before. And that we can't properly vet them. That's one thing I've been screaming about 2 years. Secretary Mayorkas gets up there and says, they're all properly vetted. Vetted against what? Because we don't have criminal data from El Salvador or Turkey or Syria. Do you think China's going to give us any national security data on their people or Russia? So you vet them against NCIC, which we have. So unless you've been convicted or arrested in this country before and your fingerprints were taken, you're going to come back clean because we don't have access to most countries' criminal data. A lot of these countries don't have criminal data, right? There's no way this is mismanagement or incompetence. This is by design. And do I think Joe Biden had the expertise to do it? No, I think someone's pulling his strings. So this is something that needs to be fully investigated. People need to be held accountable because...
Well, they need to go to wreck the country. They need to go to prison.
They created the biggest national security vulnerability this nation's ever seen. We got a record number of people on terrorist watch lists being arrested. We got 2.2 million people. And this is my biggest issue I brought up for the last 2 years. It's just not about illegal immigration anymore. When you cause a crisis this big that overwhelms the Border Patrol, where many times 70% of agents were pulled off the line dealing with this humanitarian crisis, right? Changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs, doing that humanitarian mission, leaving 30% of our Homeland Security officials left securing the border. There was times in the last 2 years where 100% of border collisions were pulled off the line, such as in El Paso, because when they got overcrowded, this administration said, wait, we can't have overcrowding. That's a bad optic. So let's pull every agent off the line, process as quick as possible, release as quick as possible, because if there's no overcrowding, there's nothing to see here. The border's so secure. So when you overwhelm the border patrol, that's one of the bad things happen. That's when we got 2.2 million gotaways, right? That's when the fentanyl comes across to kill 250,000 Americans. That's why sex trafficking of women and children is up 600%. That's why the number of migrant deaths is at a historic high.
Do you think that the fentanyl traffickers, known as the cartels, I guess, I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'd like to ask you actually, but you keep reading and hearing that they have control of parts of the southwestern United States. First of all, what is a cartel? Who are they? Where are they from? And do you think that's true?
Well, the criminal cartels in Mexico, they were born out of the narcotics smuggling industry in Mexico, and they're powerful. Look, they're like a Fortune 500 company.
Yes.
They're just not a gang anymore, right? Yeah, Jalisco cartels they're in over 45 countries of the world, right? And not only are they responsible for moving narcotics in this country, they're currently in every major city in the United States, because not only are they smuggling the drugs in the United States, they're taking over the distribution within the United States,
Yes.
right? So again, and I said this at the RNC, and President Trump agrees with me. These criminal cartels have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined, right?
And every war, more than the Second World War.
So that's why they need to be designated terrorist organizations and wiped off the face of the earth. And it's going to take the United States to do it. Mexico has failed to do it, even if they tried to do it. Bottom line is, much of the Mexican military, much of the Mexican law enforcement, much of the Mexican government's corrupt. That's just a fact.
So, but just back to the cartel question, I don't know that much about it, but I keep hearing, I think, informed people say, man, parts of New Mexico, Arizona, California, even Florida, Texas, there's real control by these cartels in the way that they control Mexico. I mean, they're basically a state within a state with their own army and armored personnel carriers and tanks and Do you think that's real? Do you think they have that kind of beachhead here?
Oh, absolutely. As I said earlier, they're like a Fortune 500 company. They're well financed. They're diversified in their funding. And look, I've seen a lot of intelligence report. They have access to military-grade weapons. They'll take the Mexican military on, the Mexican law enforcement. They do all the time. And it's just not my opinion. They have control, operational control of our southwest border. And I've talked to chief patrol agents who will agree with me. They've lost operational control of the southwest border. One chief patrol agent used the term broken arrow. I was on the phone there one time. He goes, Tom, I can't contain what's coming across. I'm lucky I'm catching 10% of it. The criminal cartels, knowing this administration caused this huge humanitarian crisis and overwhelmed the border patrol, as we discussed earlier, and whatever assets is left on the border, left to patrol, the criminal cartels, you think 100 family units or 200 family units show up accidentally at the same place at a certain time? No, the cartels control that.
Right.
They'll send a group to one area, knowing whatever left on the border was seized to that humanitarian crisis, right? They have to go deal with that. They create gaps in the system. That's when they move the fentanyl that's killed 250,000 Americans. That's why sex trafficking is up 600%. The cartels, they create gaps in our system, and that's where they operate. And for the Democratic representatives up on the Hill saying, well, most fentanyl comes to the port of entry, that's just a bunch of garbage. Most fentanyl is seized at a port of entry because every vehicle stopped, and based on the CBP targeting system, which is law enforcement sensitive, and based on the responses to the questions, chances are they'll get secondary and they'll find some things. Between the port of entry, we're maybe touching 10%.
Yeah.
So if I'm a criminal cartel, I'm going to use a route of least resistance. I know my vehicle is going to be stopped at the port of entry. Will it be secondary or not? I don't know. But between the port of entry, with 70% of the agents off the line, that's where I'm going to move my product. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Just right over the open border, you mean?
Absolutely. But President Trump has a lot of power over Mexico. Look, the tariffs alone, Mexico needs us more than we need them, right? And look, I'm not saying every cop, every soldier, every politician in Mexico is corrupt, but many are. That's just a fact. When I was ICE director, we had vetted units we worked with. Law enforcement down there, we vetted them so we can work with them, but we didn't even tell the vetted units everything we know because we just couldn't be sure, right? But President Trump has a lot of leverage. Remember, when I became board vigilante in 1984, one of my first assignments out of the academy was protecting a port of entry in Tecate, California, because we had a DEA agent that was tortured and murdered, Kiki Camarena. I think you remember.
I remember very well.
And they wouldn't help us to identify and turn over the people responsible. Ronald Reagan shut down the port of entries. And what, it took them 2 days? All of a sudden, we know who committed the crime. And so President Trump can obviously do that. He can end all the visas, end the tourist visas, the business visas. There's a lot of power he has over Mexico, and he needs, President Trump's willing to do whatever it takes to protect our sovereignty and protect this country, and he's ready to do it. He proved it the first time, when Remain in Mexico program. Mexico didn't want to do that. 30 safe country agreements. Mexico didn't want to do that. They didn't want to put 10,000 military on their border, where President Trump threatened them with tariffs, and they came to the table. I mean, we're going to come to the table what we need Mexico to do. Remain in Mexico program, a game changer. That needs to happen quickly. That was a game changer. Because after about 2 months, they stopped coming. They stopped coming because they knew they weren't being released into the United States to not show up in court. And even if they show up in court, no one's looking to remove them because on this administration, ICE can't arrest somebody for simply being illegally in the United States. Secretary Mayorkas has made that clear. They got to have a criminal conviction before ICE can even look at them, even though they're illegally here. So they remain in Mexico as a game changer. They stopped coming. They stopped selling everything they had, giving the cartels every dollar they had to come to the United States to be released. When the remaining Mexico program came into place, they stopped coming. When they stopped coming, look at the lives that were saved. Look at the money that was saved. If someone's really escaping fear and persecution from their homeland, from their home government, if they're really escaping fear and persecution, they're going to be willing to wait in Mexico for the hearing. About 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at our border never get relief from the U.S. government because they simply don't qualify or they don't show up in court. Then you look at the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report, a report that's put up by Homeland Security. For instance, family units. For those that were ordered removed, only 6% leave. So when I explained to President Trump, 9 out of 10 don't even have a valid claim, but when that 9 out of 10 gets ordered removed, 6% leave. He says, well, he didn't take him long to say, why the hell are we doing this?
Yeah.
So let's not let him in. Let's have a Remain in Mexico program. If you're really escaping fear and persecution, you wait in Mexico. If you win your case, which are very few, welcome to the United States. But if you don't win your case, we don't have to go find you. And we're not putting this message out of catch and release so people keep coming knowing they're going to be released in the United States. At the same time, knowing when they lose their case, no one's looking to remove them. That whole dynamic's going to change.
Yes.
Right? Because I've said, I've been real clear since the day President Trump appointed me, if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem, right? If we don't take the judge's order, immigration court, when you order you removed, he gets a deportation officer, deportation order. If we don't execute those orders, then what the hell are we doing? Shut down the immigration court. Don't mean anything anymore. Take the border off the border because there's no consequences for entering this country illegally. We'll give you due process, but when you're ordered removed, you're going to be removed. Here's my biggest issue. I read it every day. Racist, inhumane to have a mass deportation operation. We just went through 4 years of historic illegal immigration. Again, we're 9 out of 10 get order removal. We don't have a choice. That's where the law's set up. They lose their case, they're going home.
I mean, we just ended African-American political power, by the way, because of the demographic changes. Just basically made it, both parties have paid, especially Democratic Party, a lot of attention to what black voters want because they're a huge part of the Democratic coalition. And now that's not true. And so it's not, this is a complicated question. Anyone who says, it's just white racism is, what is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
I'll tell you exactly what they think. I was up in Chicago last week. I met with hundreds. I met with black pastors. Black pastors are upset.
Well, they should be upset.
Yeah, they feel like, people who are not supposed to be here, enter the country legally, which is a crime. I'm going to keep talking about that, are getting massive amounts of care, right? Free hotel room, 3 square meals a day, free medical care. And the black community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them.
Of course.
And they're taxpayers. They should have the first chance to get some of that help. Laken Riley would be alive today if we had a better relationship in New York City. She was arrested. The killer was arrested in New York City for injury to a child. If we had the relationship we used to have, they would have turned him over to ICE. ICE would have detained him and removed him.
Yeah.
But instead, he went to Georgia and killed him. And, if President Trump was president, he wouldn't even be in the United States. He'd be in Mexico, and the Remain in Mexico program would have never been released into the United States. Given a free hotel, given a monthly stipend for food and expenses.
Free cell phone, airplane tickets.
It's just incredible where we're at today. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm at the point now where I wake up every day pissed off. The first day I woke up with a smile on my face was the day after the election because I knew we can fix this. Yes. I knew by fixing it, you save lives. Secure borders save lives.
Yes.
Right? Even when you get 100% of the agents on the line doing their job rather than changing diapers, making baby formula, like hospital runs, more fentanyl seized, which means less fentanyl deaths. Less gotaways, which means less sex trafficking women and children, less known suspected terrorists. Even the wall saves lives. And people say, Trump's vanity wall. No, that's America's wall, first of all. Every place they build a border barrier, illegal immigration reduced, illegal drug flow reduced. What people don't want to talk about is how many lives it saves. The most vulnerable of those that come to the country, the women and children, can't get over that wall, which means they're going to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women wearing that green uniform, the finest 1% this country has, who are going to take care of their medical needs first because they're in a lot of bad shape when they get there. Men and women of the Border Patrol save thousands of lives every year. Of course, the left wants to call them, haters and stormtroopers, and they want to, slander the men of the Horse Patrol for what they did, and still no policy to this day. Men and women of the Border Patrol save a lot of lives. Border wall saves lives. And under the Trump administration, the number of deaths were very, very low, both Americans and illegal aliens. Under Joe Biden, I think we're just short of 4,000 aliens have died crossing the border. While you and I are talking right now, while you and I are having this discussion, women are being raped. And members of the cartels as a part of the crossing through that border. A child's going to die today. Either drown in a river, or be lost in the desert, or abandoned by these cartels. And they think the government's getting close to them. They'll dump people and save their own skin and put these. Look how many children have been abandoned at the border. Border Patrol's found a lot of them. I guarantee Border Patrol didn't find all of them.
Heads up, this next segment, they're going to be talking about some of the torture methods of MS-13. If you like this video, you'll like some of the other videos on the channel. And if you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and do that.
There was a religious component of kind of voodoo witchcraft component to MS-13 where they were worshiping the devil. I mean, openly. It's a component of the cartels. You see it in Mexico as well, all through Latin America. Have you come across that?
Yeah. Yeah, they worship death. And
like formally worship it though.
Oh, yeah. There's I won't call them religious. Some places that even the Texas DPS have found some of these places where the cartels were operating. They got, statues there and memorabilia worshiping death as a consequence of not allowing them to do their business.
Right. And these are from cultures that have practiced human sacrifice for thousands of years.
I got a video on my phone showing a member of the cartel skinning a man alive. Skinning him alive on video to send a message to anybody. If you push back on the cartels, if you snitch on the cartels, they're not going to just kill you. They're going to make you suffer immensely. During the press conference, President Trump referred to these people as animals. And of course, Nancy Pelosi, the rest of people went nuts. These are people you refer to as animals. She's an animal, actually. Then they came to me and I said, I don't know what President Trump has against animals, but animals kill to survive. MS-13 kills for pleasure. The southwest border is a huge national security vulnerability.
Is there some military purpose to this invasion? Have you wondered that?
I've wondered every day.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get in power and start drilling down these files. Who are these people who you release? What kind of vetting did you do? Did you take biometric, biographic data?
Yeah, high testosterone foreigners? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why? I don't want to be paranoid, but
it's been very, they don't talk about it. And it's very, but when we get in power, we're going to have to pull all those records. Find, like the over 300,000 missing children. We got to pull those records from HHS.
Okay, so what? I'm sorry.
I've been told by whistleblowers.
What is that? 300,000 missing children. That's something else I've read reference to.
Look, over 500,000 children have been trafficked into this country. And they get turned over to custody of HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, who find sponsors and release them to sponsors. I've talked to several whistleblowers say they weren't even fingerprinting the sponsors on many occasions and not doing proper vetting. We have a whistleblower who's testified in front of Congress now 3 times. That a lot of these children seem to be victims of trafficking. They're released to unvetted sponsors, and many children will be released to one sponsor. The one whistleblower said there was 11 young girls released to one male, single male. Maybe it's all innocent. Maybe it's not. But
there's nothing innocent. That's sick.
No. And look, the CBP One app, they shut that down because of massive fraud. One of the insiders in CBP told me, for example, one dead man sponsored over 1,600 people. Been dead for years. Massive fraud, massive trafficking involved. And when they talked about opening CBP One app to do that, I said at the time, before they even implemented it, if you do this, it's going to create a huge trafficking network. Or if you're from Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti, or Venezuela, you want to come to the United States under this CHNV program, you just got to find a sponsor who want to take care of you. How many sick pedophiles would be willing to sponsor anybody from one of those 4 countries to come live in the United States? Then after they get here, you own them. All you got to do is, you're their official sponsor. Without you, they can't stay. And what are these sick sponsors? Not all of them, but many of these are going to be predators and sick people. What are they going to do to these people who are trying to stay in this country? It's a huge human trafficking issue. I guarantee you.
And by human trafficking, is it mostly for prostitution?
Prostitution or forced labor, mainly, those 2 things.
How can law enforcement ignore it?
We're not going to starting June 21st.
Good.
But I can tell you, look, of the over 300,000 this government lost track of, I guarantee you, as I sit here today, we'll find many in forced labor. We'll find many in forced sex trafficking. That's the sad thing. We're going to find them. So that's why President Trump's saying, seriously, we got to save, especially we got to save these women and children that are put in this position. The immigration consequences will still come, but first we got to save and get these kids. As far as the kids, over 300,000, we got to save these kids. A lot of them are living life hell every day, and I guarantee you we're going to find. Well, ICE, HSI has already found some of these children meat packing plants, cleaning up entrails on midnight shift. We're going to find some living with pedophiles. We're going to find some are in sex slavery. Some are going to be dead, but we got to find these children. And President Trump made that a 3rd rail of priorities, and it's something that needs to be done. And my number 1 goal is seeing these cartels wipe off the face of the earth. And I think President Trump's the guy to do it.
Thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, please like the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do that. And we'll see you guys in the next one.